How you doing? Good. It's Friday. Yeah. Thank God. All right. Well, my name is Pat Kempfer. I'm from Madison. I'm a person in long-term recovery. I recover from a number of things on a daily basis. One of which is heroin. I haven't used heroin since June of 2009. I've been clean ever since. And it isn't like I just woke up one day and was like, hey, I think I'll go try some heroin. That sounds like a great idea. I did a number of things before that. Oh, yeah. It's me. When I was 12, I started smoking cigarettes, and that was really kind of a game-changing moment there. It was the first time I had like a real chemical change in my brain, and it was interesting because, you know, it wasn't like a pleasant experience. It wasn't like, oh wow, this is great. Like I felt sick and like my head hurt, and I kind of felt like I had to throw up. But I did it again anyway, until the point where I was addicted to nicotine, and I smoked for 22 years after that. When I was about that same age was the first time I ever drank alcohol, and again, you know, like that wasn't like a pleasant experience, but I did it again anyway. Not too long after that, I started smoking marijuana and trying other drugs like hallucinogens, things like that. And again, you know, looking back, none of these were like really, really pleasant experiences, but I kept doing them anyway. Eventually getting to the point where I had put myself in a lot of trouble with the law, with my family, friends, spent some time in jail, and then being introduced to, I don't want to say heroin necessarily, but being introduced to the lifestyle that heroin addicts live, and being really turned off by it, actually. You know, it seemed like these people would be having a lot more fun if they were to just drink and smoke weed and go to parties. Instead, they just seemed miserable all the time, and sad and cold, and just desperate and shaking and sick. It's like they always had the flu, you know? So I didn't really see the appeal. But I stayed hanging around with people like that for a really long time because, you know, they're my friends. You know, these are people like that, you know, that I care about. You know, we do stuff together. Well, it was just a matter of time, really, before I made the decision to try it, just to see what all the hoopla was. And I'll never forget this. The first time I ever did heroin, I remember like it affecting me and just being like, just like taken. Just taken. You know, because the reason that I did all these other drugs throughout the years, you know, like I said, like it wasn't like it was like, oh wow, I did it the first time, it was awesome. It wasn't awesome, but I kept doing it, and the reason for that is because I was continually looking for a feeling that I never really experienced growing up, and that was just a feeling of safety. You know, I never felt completely comfortable ever, and that always bothered me. So I gravitated toward people that I thought would, you know, have my best interests in mind. I gravitated towards substances that I thought would make me feel better about my situation, and oftentimes they didn't. Sometimes they did, but not enough to logically look at it and be like, oh, this is a wise decision. But the problem with addiction is that the addict doesn't keep in mind the negative things. Like, that just goes away. And all you can look at is like, oh, well, it was great this one time, and that's all you'll focus on. And that'll keep a person moving into that direction until it's too late. Sitting there listening to the sheriff talk about how many, 3 people in 2 years? I've lost 3 people in the last 2 months to heroin. And the last one was a guy that I'd known like half my life. And I met him when I was maybe just a little bit older than all of you are now. And we were friends for years. And we had a lot of ups and downs and ins and outs, and you know, and he was a father to two little children. And he had a mother and a brother and a sister. And just an insurmountable amount of friends. And he's gone now because of heroin. And it wasn't the first time he did it. He struggled for years to try to get things together and get clean, and it just never happened for him. He lost that opportunity because he kept playing around. The last time I did heroin, I overdosed. And if it hadn't been for the help of the people that were there, that witnessed it, that they called 911 immediately, I wouldn't be here today. A lot of times that doesn't happen because the people that we use drugs with aren't always exactly looking out for our best interests. And they might be afraid to call the police. So people that we use drugs with aren't exactly, I mean, by definition, our friends, even though we'd say that they are. I want to say something else here too. The sheriff also mentioned, that oftentimes, the drugs that people buy on the street are, cut with weird things, and you don't know what it is. And I'm glad that he encouraged you to, to look up, to educate yourselves about drugs. I want you to look up something else too. It's called the crocodile. It starts with a K, and it's in Madison. I've seen the effects of it, and if you look that up, it's unimaginable. It destroys a person's muscle and flesh from the inside out. Like there's pictures that I've seen and videos of people who have just exposed bone. I mean, they look like zombies. It's insane. And yet, it's so addictive that people continue to use it. Now, I guarantee you, because the effects are so similar to heroin, that no, maybe your muscle won't fall off from doing it, but the fact that that's even the possibility should be deterrent enough. More than anything, though, the message that I want to convey here is that although we go through our lives, feeling different, alone, sometimes sad, we may end up reaching for things, that we think are going to make us, feel okay, feel comfortable for the short term, because, we don't feel like what we have is enough. We don't feel like what we're doing is enough. And a lot of times, we compare, like, well, my situation isn't nearly as hard as that person's, or maybe the other way around, maybe like, oh, my life is way harder than this guy's or this girl's, and they could never possibly understand me. And it's that kind of thinking, that isolating feeling that we have about ourselves, that drives us into using drugs, because we can't feel comfortable, we feel alone, we feel unsafe. And it doesn't matter, because you know what? If it's hard for me and it's hard for you, it's just hard. It doesn't mean it's any harder for you or harder for me. It's just knowing that it's hard is enough. And there's an interesting parallel to that. I heard someone say the other day that, they wish that they loved themselves more. It's like, I don't feel like I love myself enough. People say like, if only they loved me as much as they loved that person. Or if only I could love them as much as I love so-and-so. The fact is that somebody loves. Now, if I say like, oh, I wish I loved myself more, that must mean that I love myself some, and I think that that's enough. That's something that anybody can build on. Now, maybe if I feel that way, maybe I'm just not expressing it to myself enough. Maybe I'm not doing enough nice things for myself. You know, maybe I'm not eating as well as I should, or sleeping as much as I should, or maybe I'm not pursuing the dreams that I want to pursue. You know, maybe I just need to be a little bit nicer to myself. You know, so the fact that people have it hard and the people that have love are all kind of on the same plane. I think that, I don't know, that just gives me a lot of comfort to know that it doesn't make me any different to know that I've had this past. What matters now is that standing here today, even though I don't know any of you, I love everybody here enough to want to see you live the rest of your life. And I love me enough to stand here and share what I have. Hope. Hope that people can go down that road and can get out of it, but most likely don't. So if you know somebody, a friend, a family member, some kind of loved one, a teacher who struggles, don't be afraid to talk to them. If you have something you're struggling with, don't be afraid to talk to somebody. Ask for help. The hardest thing a person can do is ask for and accept help. But it's there. Thank you.
You guys getting fidgety yet? You wanna? Here, do me a favor, just stand up. Say, just stretch a little, whatever, get the blood flowing. I see some people falling asleep a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. I fall asleep sometimes too, especially those boring lectures, you know? The monotone ones. Today we'll be studying history. I'm joking. You can do whatever. You can stay, stand, or sit. I don't care. Whatever. My name's Byron. Yeah. A little social time. Chit chat. Oh, hi. How are you? What's up? Sheriff Dreckman said what? Opiate is a name for the family of drugs that heroin is in, so that would include prescription narcotics such as, painkillers like Vicodin and Percocet and Oxycontin, etc. And will also include street drugs like heroin and stuff like that. Does that make sense? Opioids are part of a family of narcotics which release, they fill up the opioid receptors in your brain, and that's a naturally occurring. Is this science class? You guys want to hear about science, or you want to hear about my story? Dude, I could drop some bombs on you. I know this stuff. Science, okay, fine, okay, little background. So, your brain has these opioid receptors, and there's a naturally occurring chemicals such as like dopamines, which, like if you have pain, like natural joint pain, stuff like this, your brain releases these compounds, and they fill these little receptors in your brain. And what you do when you take narcotics such as opioids, or you're prescribed them from the doctor, is it fills up those receptors and it makes you feel good. The same kind of dopamines are released when you exercise, and stuff like that too. And so what you see a lot of times is people in recovery, or addicts in particular, they get addicted to exercise. And at various points in my life, when I would get clean off opiates, I would be addicted to exercise myself. So I would go in these cycles, these year cycles, where I would I'd be using for a long time, then I get cleaned up and I get really fit, and then I'd start using again. And essentially what I was doing was replacing one addiction for another. And so, but it all started for me, how old are you? I'm here mostly 12 and 13. 15? 6. 4, 5, 4, 14. But that's 5. You're holding up a 4 and a 1. Oh, 1 and a 4. Oh, 10 and a 4. Okay, 14. That's true. She's got a point, you know. Oh boy. Anyways, so yeah, I started using, first time, I was in 6th grade. So you guys are in 7th, 8th? 7th, 8th, something like that. Who all knows better than me? He says, what? Who all knows better than me here? Better than me, like, you know. You're not following me, are you? Yeah, he does. See, okay, you can go ahead and raise your hands. That's fine. You should. See, I knew better than, like, when I heard this sort of thing in schools or whatever, I always thought, yeah, you know, whatever. He's full of it, you know. I know better, right? We all know better. I'm just some dude standing up here. But, you know, the difference is I've been there and I've done that, and I've got the experience. I can tell you how bad it was. And even though I can joke around about it, you know, and make it kind of fun, it really is quite horrific. So anyways, I started using, I remember I was in 6th grade, homeroom. I don't know, do we even have homeroom anymore? You do? Okay, sweet, this one does. So we had homeroom, and I remember my dad came, and I saw my dad's head pop in the corner, in the door, and I was like, man, that's weird. He never comes here, you know, that's really weird to see my dad here at school. And he pulled me out in the hallway, and he told me my grandfather had gotten really ill, and he was, you know, basically, he had died already at that point, but they lied to me. They were like, oh, he's just really sick. They could have just said, oh, yeah, you know, he passed away, and I would have been, you know, traumatized, whatever. But the point is that I didn't know how to deal with that, you know? I didn't know, like, who all here has dealt with loss of a family member, stuff like that? You, right there, dude, sorry for your uncle. I really am. My condolences. And so who all knows how to deal with that sort of thing? I see a couple hands. Not as many as were up before. Like, what do you do? Cry? That seems legit. I mean, yeah. Kill things on video. What? They hurt themselves. You know, that's a really good point. Or they try and feel better somehow, right? What if the thing that you do to feel better actually winds up hurting you more? That's kind of what happened. What's up? Yeah. A counselor, you know, that's a lot. That's really productive, actually. That's probably one of the better ones I've heard. What about you? Fun with your friends? Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, there are definitely different stages of that sort of thing. I don't want to sit on this too long, okay? But the point is that I didn't really know how to deal with that sort of thing, and between that and like not really feeling like I was a part of, I always felt different. You know, like who here feels like they're different, like they don't really fit in, be kind of a loner. People. I'm supposed to really go PG with this thing, okay? So I'm practicing some restraint here. But, yeah, so, like, I didn't feel like I fit in, you know? It's like there was no good group for me to fit in with. And so between all those feelings of, like, not really being able to deal with my grandpa and all this, that, and the other, a bunch of, like, psychological nonsense, you know? You know, it was really easy for me to just pick up and start smoking pot at the ripe old age of 12 years old, you know? And so by the time I was in 8th grade, which you guys, there's some of you 8th graders here, right? Yeah, there's a good chunk of them mostly over here. Are there no 8th graders over there? Oh, it's all 7th, 8th. See? Man, they're all compartmentalized. That's so convenient. Anyways, so, yeah, by the time I was in 8th grade, I was smoking pot every single day. Every day. No, I don't expect anybody to raise their hand and say, oh yeah, I smoke pot every single day too, right? No, but yeah, you know, and it took a few years of doing that. But my point is that I started out by smoking pot and drinking. And by the time I was out of high school, 4 years later, which actually I never even made it through high school. I got kicked out freshman year. I went back, got kicked out sophomore year. Went to charter school, got kicked out of there. You know, so I basically kicked out every school I've ever been in. You know, and now I'm going on for my undergraduate in economics at the University of Wisconsin. But yeah, and who knows what insidious means? Not the movie. Come on, man. Was it you? Yeah, you. I picked you out. I saw a hand. Come on. Who knows what insidious means? Just say it. Blurt it out. Come on. Cheese? What? A catch on fire? I don't know. Okay, well, insidious is like a slow, like natural progression. Hey, insidious is like a slow, natural progression. It's seemingly inconsequential at first. And my first drink and my first, getting high on pot seemed like it wasn't that big a deal. But in actuality, it was a really big deal. And it slowly built on itself. And what I'm saying is like, kind of like what my good friend Pat said, is like I didn't wake up one day and think, I think I'm going to be a junkie. It doesn't work like that, You kind of build up to it. So, and it starts out, you might be getting some pills from your friends or whatever, Sitting there thinking this guy's full of hot air. But, anyways, so I used, and how much time? 5 minutes? 5 minutes? So yeah, but you want to know what the life of a junkie is like? What do you guys do in the day? You wake up, you get some coffee, you get a latte, yeah? Dude, you're already addicts. You're already addicted to. No, I'm joking. I'm being silly. No, coffee. Yeah, coffee's actually. I don't function well without it. But okay, and then what? Go eat. Okay, take a shower. Yeah, showers and stuff. Play video games. Okay, if I'm getting high, this is how my day goes. I wake up, the first thing I think about is how I'm going to get high today, okay? Which usually involves stealing some money, selling some drugs, or robbing somebody, whatever, stuff like this. Finding things that I can take and then get rid of to, get enough cash so I can get high. So there's a lot, it's a life filled with deceit and dishonesty, Because you reach a point with it where you have to do whatever it is you can just to stay high. And so all those things that you think that you stand for in your life, all those things that you think you'll never do, all those things that I said, I'll never do this or I'll never do that, those are all things that eventually I wound up doing, courtesy of drugs and alcohol. And so all day, every day, for about 6 years or 8, something like that, this is how my day went. I woke up and I found a way to get my drugs, and then I used my drugs. And it's a vicious cycle because your body hurts so bad when you don't have them that you literally have to have them to go to work. Like, even to go to work and make money, you have to have drugs. And then you work so that you can have money, so that you can feel okay, so that you can work, so that you can get your drugs and feel okay so that you can work. Does that, you follow? That's kind of messed up. But the point is that, this thing that started out as something that was seemingly so inconsequential, it didn't seem like a big deal, slowly snowballed into something that I had to have. I had to have it so that I could work and feel okay to function on a daily basis. And then I had to work to support that habit. And let me tell you something, eventually you reach a point where no matter how much money you make, the addiction, the amount you need will always grow larger than the amount of money that you have. So you will always wind up like sacrificing things. You'll sacrifice your morals. You'll lie, cheat, steal, do whatever you have to do to keep using. There is never enough drugs, period. And so, I don't know what. I'm going to turn around this up here. I need something. I got to wrap this up here. Okay. Oh, my family. Okay. Yeah, this is actually really like a key thing for getting me clean. Like I was coming out of the garage one day and I was like emaciated. I weigh about 150 pounds right now. I quit smoking like 3-4 years ago, so I kind of got fat. But anyways, I was coming out of the garage one day and musing, and my mom stopped me and she looks at me. I remember this look in her eye. She had this pained look in her eye. She was just so sad, you know. And she said, "Byron, you know, we're just waiting for you to die." And I remember that pained look in her eyes. And I realized that even though in my mind I wasn't affecting anybody, you know, that I had my using was some big secret that nobody knew, that in actuality I was affecting my family. And they were so resigned to the fact that I was a junkie, and they saw how bad it was getting, that they knew that I was going to die, and there was literally nothing they could do about it. And when I got clean, they didn't think I would stay clean. So I was sleeping on the porch on a military cot. It was like this creaky thing. It was really hot. It was like July, you know, so it was really hot on this porch. And they wouldn't even let me in the house. They're like, "You can sleep on this porch," you know. And I did for a few months. And then gradually, over months and years, they started to trust me again. But yeah, and my brother passed away. My brother passed away courtesy of drugs and alcohol too. So that really affected them a lot. And there's a lot of other stuff, like, you know, I've had a lot of near-death experiences. I've overdosed and, you know, like flown cars into trees, stuff like that, you know, spent days in the hospital and overdosed numerous times and had a lot of really near-death experiences. Is there anything else I should touch on? Oh, that's a good point. Okay. Who all likes statistics? Oh. There's a couple stats, dude. I love stats. Stats are great. Anyways, so how many people are here? 300? 250? I like that, 250. Okay, so how many people, if we're all addicts here, how many people do you think could get clean and stay clean? 5? 2? 5 per what? I'll give you a hint, it's 5%. That's 5 for every 100, so that's like 7.5 people or something, roughly. Yeah, so like everybody but you from the waist down. I'm joking. Yeah, and so, no, think about that for a second. That's some, whoa, hello. Hi. Yeah, so think about those odds. Think about those odds for a second. Those are really not very good odds. Of all of us that are using, there's only going to be like 5 people for every 100. Oh man, that math was bad. Actually, 12. 5 per 100. What? Anyways, so I remember. I don't know where I'm going with this, guys, but hey, just don't do drugs, all right? Drugs are bad. Find somebody to talk to, love yourself, have some friends. The best way to be successful at life, if you want to succeed in staying clean, hang around clean people. You know, it's simple as that. If you want to become educated, hang around educated people. If you want to become successful in a business environment, you know, join a club to be a good business person. And that's the bottom line, you know. Your social influences have a huge impact on, you know, where you're at today and where you'll be in the future. That's all.
Try to kind of do something different than I've done in everyone so far. Like I normally read from a paper just to get done and get through it, but I'm going to try to do a little more without the paper. How many of you here have a brother or sister? How many of you are very close to him or her? All right. Alrighty, now, I lost my brother, Brad Millen, passed away in Fenimore on August 31st of last year at the age of 24, 2 weeks before his 25th birthday, due to a heroin overdose. Now, who has an uncle, this is gonna be bad, who has an uncle that, or an aunt that you're really close to? Okay? Well, my daughter was 8 or 7 at the time, and she lost my brother, which would be her uncle. She was very, very, very close to. She climbed in the casket with him at his funeral. It's a lot for a 7-year-old to have to go through. She goes through counseling every week in order to make it through this. I also have a 6-year-old, at the time was 5. He didn't really realize what was going on, but he does now. And, you know, like the little things that they ask, you know, how did he die? I finally told my daughter the truth a couple months ago. She kind of had an idea because she knows Grandma and I speak at schools, so she knew something was a little different. What we told her was that he died of, his heart was too big for his chest. Okay? What do you tell a 7-year-old? You didn't want to tell her the truth. But my daughter is very, very smart. She's very advanced. And I thought it was time for her to know, because the youngest that they've charged is, or found kids with, was 3rd grade as far as I know. And my daughter's in 3rd grade. I don't want to see my kids die from anything like this. I don't want to see you guys die from anything like this, or have to go through what I went through. My parents had to bury their son. I buried my brother, and my kids buried their uncle. A lot of friends lost a great friend. He was an amazing kid, very smart. He finally got out of jail after so long, was clean for what, 7 months, Mom? 8 months? The last time he used was August 30th. The first time he used after jail, he died in the parking lot of his friend's car. All right. Now, we sent him to get help, but I watched him die every day. After we sent him away, we brought him back. He was here for my wedding. He died a year later on my wedding day. My anniversary, he died. So every day, every year, I celebrate my wedding anniversary. I have that sad, awful piece. The last year, I hid behind alcohol, and I lost a lot of things. I drank this whole last year I drank, and the last 2 weeks, I've been clean from smoking and drinking, and I'm gonna continue that. I turned to alcohol because I was strong enough for my kids and my family, but I didn't deal well myself. I didn't take care of myself. My marriage is on the rocks. I basically am losing everything. As an addict, you don't realize what you have until it's gone, or until it's your last time and you're sitting there knowing it was a mistake. But I just hope that you guys can learn something from this. I don't ever want to have my kids go through it. I really don't want you guys to either. And I feel very sorry for this young boy right here. And, you know, I know what he's feeling because I watched my daughter who buried her uncle, you know? It's not easy. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life. Thank you.